Test 1 1, test 1 1. Test 1 4, test 1 4.
That'll work. Don't have your gavel? No. Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming, and let's go ahead and call the Board of Managers meeting to order. And I welcome all of you today. So we will begin with having Leanne come up and start our day with a prayer.
Will you please pray with me? Gracious God, as we gather together today, I'm aware of the touch of warmth in the air, the greening of the grass, the blossoming of the flowers. Spring is coming. Seasons are changing, and as always, so much is changing. I'm looking at you, Bill. But one thing will always stay the same: our commitment to our patients, our North Star, our commitment to our mission, transforming healthcare delivery for the communities we serve, and our commitment to our calling as individuals, as leaders, as board members, as community members. And so, dear God, we ask, grant us wisdom, grant us courage, give us everything we need to co-create together the future that our present and our future communities need us to be. We ask all this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Okay. All right.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Do we have any citizens wishing? We have no citizen wishing to address the board. Okay. Next on our agenda is approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? There being no corrections, I will entertain a motion for approval. Second by DT. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. Motion passes unanimously. I want to just say thank you to staff and to Carla. The Employee Service Award breakfast was last Thursday. It's a beautiful, wonderful program, and I hope next year more of you will be able to attend. That's where we have employees that's been with us for up to 40 years were there, who was recognized. And then we had one employee that probably had 42 years, but she's in IT, and we outsourced IT. She stayed, and now she came back, and she's a 25 or 30-year employee. I think it was 30. So it's just a beautiful program, and you get to interact with employees. I sit at the table with a group that it was amazed. She said, my mother worked at JPS, and so she's working. And now when her child, who's in college, graduates, she said, I'm recruiting him for this institution. It was just beautiful. So thank you for your effort and for all of the staff. It was interactive because each one of the VPs were at a table, and they were telling employees, were giving their story, and it was just amazing to hear why they continue to stay here and love this institution. And so I came out of there all pumped, and so thank you, staff.
No,
okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Great
Okay.
having you.
All right. Dr. Duncan.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair, and it was really nice having you there. What Dorothy did not say to you was that the nurses that were part of the program all remembered Dorothy, fondly remembered Dorothy. So it was really a place for her to return. So, no, thank you. Can I have the clicker to progress through? I did send out information to board members that we were able to sell our bonds last Tuesday at 4.4%. And we expect our funds to be received on March 28th. So great work to Sharon and the bond team that worked alongside us. And so we are looking forward to it. That's a huge accomplishment for us over the last year to have 2 groundbreaking events and then now to actually begin to draw down on our bond. So we are well on our way. I know a couple of board members last time at our full board meeting asked the question, is the work going on at the PEC? And so it takes Bill Masterton to prove to the CEO that there is work going on. So Bill is going to show you, because what he has done is to pull from our cameras elapsed time, over time, the work that has been going on. So Bill?
But hello, better. This is a time lapse from when on PPC, and this is updated as of once we get through it all, we updated as of now. Pretty good cameras. The last image you see will be 3 minutes. Really excited with the progress and then with
Thank you, Bill. And you have some of the pictures on your iPad here, too. So that did quiet me down on Monday mornings, as Bill shows that Monday morning. But these are just some of the pictures, as Bill said. And then our medical home Southwest is being graded right now. It also is on schedule. And then our temporary parking is also going on. So we have quite a bit of activity that's going on across campus and out in our community. Okay, I did want to inform the board that the Community Advisory Group for the Medical Home Southwest held their first meeting on February 22nd. Those are community members within that community. There will be ongoing quarterly meetings in order to receive feedback from the residents of that community. And it is a very diverse group, and we've already received quite a bit of input. And so that's exciting to be partnering with our communities. Also there was an invite that was sent out, but want to recognize our clinical pharmacy team. They are the recipient of the Warren E. Weaver Richard P. Pena Award, and that is presented to a select group of organizations and individuals that go above and beyond to provide specialized pharmacy knowledge, care, and expertise. And actually, representatives from D.C. will be here in order to present that award on March 14th. So it's a very distinguished award, and so very proud of that team. And one of our own JPS team members that works under Sharon Clark, Whitney Franklin, who's Director of Decision Support, has been named one of the finalists for the DCEO Financial Executive Awards. And so, again, great teamwork that's going on. And then I want to end it with some pictures from the event that Dorothy spoke about, the Service Awards Breakfast. And you can see here everyone was having a great time. It was held at the Ashton Depot, which is a beautiful site. You can see. I believe we have over 360 employees who have greater than 15 years here at JPS. You see Joy. That's Janelle. That is me, by the way, if you're wondering who has her eyes closed. But Janelle works at the Stop 6 clinic, and she has 40 years with us.
wow.
And well attended. And this is Richard. I believe it is Richard, his first name, and he works in pharmacy. He is the longest standing employee here with 45 years. So again, a really nice event. So with that said, I don't know if the board knew that Dorothy actually served here at JPS, including the role as CNO here. That was for 28 years, and she's been on the board for 12 years. So that gives her 40 years here at JPS. And Dorothy, I have actually a 40-year pin and a plaque for your great service. It's got little diamonds in there and everything.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm going to correct it. I worked here 2 years before, and then I left and came back. So I'm really 42. So I just thought I'd correct the
Add
record.
two more pieces of glass in there. We'll be fine.
But there is a plaque here and a pen for you to put on your desk, your plaque. Thanking you for your service here at
Thank you.
JPS.
Thank you.
With that completes my report, Madam Chair.
All right, I won't, listen, I am not going to say anything to Karen anymore. I made that statement to her, and I get this today, so I'm going to be careful when I...
Do you know how much work we did overnight to get that done?
Okay, all right. Dr. Haynes, you're here to report for the Medical Executive Committee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am filling in. Huh? Well, thank you. I'm filling in and honored to do so for Dr. Miles.
Notice he
And-
was clear about he's filling in.
So, representing the Medical Executive Committee, and, the Medical Executive Committee has a duty to make sure that we oversee the competency, skill set, and the credentials that our medical staff have. And each time when we come to you, we present and make recommendations based on a very rigorous process that it goes through a lot of validation from previous experiences and ongoing observation. Okay, so we do have it's a very rigorous ongoing process. And so today you might see things, terms like OPPE or FPPE. That means ongoing professional practice evaluation and focused professional practice evaluation. That's done by the department chairs, but also it's validated even up through and including credentialing committee, MEC, and ultimately we bring it to the Board of Managers for approval. Okay, so I just wanted to, especially on behalf of the medical staff, we thank you for your leadership and your guidance, and we welcome the new board members, and so the medical staff wants to collaborate, partner, and continually help with the quality of care, maximizing, optimizing our quality of care. We want to continue working with you to provide better access, and also make sure that we have the ultimate patient safety here. So, it's an ongoing process. We have to continue to adapt. We have to continue to look at regulatory issues, and we have to continue to be very transparent with our Board of Managers. So I just wanted to preface that, especially for the new members who are here, and also to tell you that there's a difference between credentialing and privileging. Okay, so when we say credentialing, and like you'll see the list of the doctors who we're presenting for you today, those are the doctors and clinicians that are going to be appointed within the department, within their own individual departments. Okay, and they meet at least the minimal criteria for activity as a medical staff member. When we talk about privileging and we talk about delineation of privileging, we're talking about specific skill sets and particular granting privileges to do things like very, very, high risk, procedures and that sort of thing. So there's a big difference. You can be a part of a department and have certain privileges, but some other members of that department might not have those privileges. So I just wanted to let you know that as we move forward. If you had any questions, today we're going to be presenting for your recommendation. We're recommending for your approval the credentials. You'll see there's 13 initial applicants, and all of those have been reviewed and recommended for approval by the department chairs, and it has escalated through to the MEC MDC. And then there's 10 practitioners that have successfully completed their initial focused practice review. That is a kind of a proctoring element where those their skill set and their requests for the credentials are being observed within the department. You'll also see that there's 10 practitioners who have successfully completed their provisional year and now will be without that focused review. We have one practitioner that's granted additional privileges to e-prescribe, and then 39 practitioners are presented for reappointment, and they've all been reviewed and recommended for approval by the department chair, the credentials committee, and the medical executive committee. You see there's also 18 practitioners who voluntarily resigns, and those are primarily contractual issues that those doctors are no longer under the contract in the anesthesiology department per se. Okay, so with that, we'll submit the first item of our presentation, and that is it says privileges on A, but actually it's credentials. Okay, so and then this will go to executive committee for approval. Is that right, or is it here?
It can be here if someone has some questions, or if you need to discuss something with us. No
concerns.
Okay.
No, ma'am. So, Madam Chair, would you like for me to move on and explain, or at least give a presentation on the next phase, which is the approval of delineation of privileges?
Let's do the approval of the privileges now, the credentials.
So, if so, can I present that to ask for your approval for the credentialing?
Okay.
And I'll second the motion.
All right. Okay. Are there any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approval of the privileged credentials signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. Okay? Now you're ready for the...
Thank you.
Okay.
In previous presentations to the Board of Managers, I know Dr. Miles has expressed to you, we continue to improve, modify, and optimize, and actually try to create a really delineation of privileges that, it has quality of care, patient safety, innovation, and best practice in mind. And so in that, we have continued to change, update, and improve our delineation of privileges. So, and you can see in each category, we've had really robust and rigorous discussions with the individual department chairs, as well as in our service needs, to make adjustments to the core privileges, as well as any additional privileges to have delineation of privileges. So this is what the requirements are when you're seeking certain privileges as a clinician at JPS. So the clinical psychologist was reviewed. There's no changes were recommended. Emergency medicine, we're going to incorporate medical toxicology into emergency medicine, really as a list on the core privileges, because that's provided by some of our emergency department providers, but not others. But medical toxicology is important, and it resides in that emergency medicine. Perinatal, neonatal medicine, that was previously part of the pediatric, but we've separated that service line and department into maternal child, and so we moved that out of pediatrics per se. It's in the neonatal, perinatal medicine now. So the recommendation was that would be separated. And the nurse practitioner in pediatrics was reviewed. There was no recommended changes. And the psychiatry nurse practitioner was reviewed. No changes were recommended. There were some changes in the OB-GYN, which added some procedures to the gynecology list, in the ambulatory referral privileges, because it's not necessary for our hospital OB-GYN providers. There was adjusted robotics privileges, because we're moving more and more to minimally invasive robotics procedural, and so we have modified and adjusted and improved our delineation privilege to improve that. Ophthalmology, that's pretty much covered here by the UT Southwestern providers. We made some minor adjustments to their core procedures to reflect the current current practice here, and we also adjusted their laser surgery privileges because that's under another governance in environment of services that we have to keep up with regulatory process. Our pain medicine, we made some minor adjustments to core procedures to reflect the current pain medicine here. Pediatrics, again, we removed that neonatal perinatal medicine, and we clarified the language to describe the pediatric subspecialty privileges we had, including the cardiology, gastroenterology, genetics, and et cetera. The physician assistant psychiatry, that was reviewed, no changes. Podiatry, reviewed, no changes. And all these changes were reviewed with the department chair and the faculty. Urology, again, that's UT Southwestern. We made some minor adjustments to core procedures to reflect the current urology practice here, and we adjusted their laser surgery privileges as well. So I present that, again, with the detailed delineation of privileges that you got in your board book, and I am open to any questions.
I have one question on the pain management. In the blue, was that being added? I couldn't read it, so I didn't know if it was being added or you were taking it out.
That's the same.
Yeah.
That's the same question.
Okay.
Some things are highlighted yellow.
The highlight in yellow we know is changing, but this is blue that they put, and it would be on page 48 of the one.
Yes, and that is our areas. I think that's supposed to be yellow, but it ended up blue. Because I'm looking at that, and all of those procedures that I'm looking at are procedures that they typically do. But I believe that was probably a technical. That is what I'm just saying from looking at that.
Okay.
All these are currently procedures that they currently do there.
Okay, that was just my.
But that's a good pickup, and I appreciate you bringing that up. However, I can't see any reason why that would not be, those absolutely are part of the delineation of privileges,
Okay.
to my knowledge.
Okay, all right, okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
So I'd move forward with it to submit it.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
If I may, ma'am. I had the same question on 32. That's the OB-GYN delineation of privileges. Are we adding
Yeah.
those, or are those being taken out?
You had two over there in blue. For some reason, I didn't understand the blue. We didn't have a scale for blue.
Yep, I see what you're saying. Those were the blue. The concern is with that there may be some new regulatory issues regarding that area in OB-GYN. So I'm going to ask that we maybe remove that, table those two, the OB. Let me just, because it's the same situation in both, my suggestion would be to take these two with the blue off of the request this time, because that was not clearly indicated. Okay, so, but move forward with the others that don't have the blue.
So that would be OB-GYN and pain management.
I think I think that would be the appropriate thing to do, given that was the context they were thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, that's my concern too on the OB-GYN, is that there's a regulatory change there that probably we need to be a little bit more mindful of.
Yeah.
So with that, and I'm happy to make the motion unless there's more discussion. I just don't want to truncate the discussion.
Okay, is there any other questions?
I had a question about the neonatal, perinatal. Are there any changes there, or are you just removing it from the pediatric privileges?
It's supposed to, those privileges will now move to the perinatal, neonatal.
But they haven't been changed, they just were extracted and separated.
They're removed into, and the reason we do that is because of the quality of care is the authority and responsibility of the department, of that department in that area. So we're just moving it into that arena. So
let me ask one other question on that ophthalmology. Are they removing, look like half of their privileges, so half of the deals that they can do? Is that my understanding? Am I reading that correct? They're reducing what they can do.
Page 41, Dr. Haynes.
41,
Activity.
yes, the ones that have a line in it,
Yeah, they said,
50 to 25.
there's two, what I see is there's two areas that they wanted, that they've said that they need a different type of resources to do effectively, okay? Those two areas. But those are the only areas, and we also reduced the number of procedures that were required to be done in the last few months in order to
Yeah,
get the privileges.
yeah, that was one that.
Right.
You're saying for them to come on, they don't have to have the 25 procedures now.
They have to have 25, not 50.
Yeah, well, that's a big drop. That's a big change. That's the first time. Usually y'all have it a little bit higher there, and then the next time when it's renewed, they don't usually double them, but sometimes they.
Well, you'll notice it's 50 for reappointment, though. So they have to do 50 while they're here in order to get reappointed.
Okay, let me just ask it another way.
A lot of the, this was driven a lot by access needs and just having, manpower needs to be able to fill that area. So we actually have fellows here from UT Southwestern, and all the time they're here, they're getting those procedural experiences.
Okay.
And that's under the supervision of the ophthalmologist from UT Southwestern here. They're in the Department of Surgery.
Okay.
We've lowered them before in one of the previous privileges, and I can't remember which one.
Yeah, there
We
was.
did
There
a
was one
couple
that we
of them.
lowered the
Yeah, we
procedures
lowered
down.
them. But there was a reason. They were saying that their standards were changing, or they couldn't do. I just noted it.
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to see if there was a reason. That service has been here a long time, so.
Remember Dr. Weber brought that up because he talked about the fact that in some cases, when it comes to the procedures over the last 12 months, that there simply wasn't the volume available of procedures for them to be able to get credentialed on as many as were required.
Yeah,
It wasn't a quality issue. It was
Right.
just the fact that there simply wasn't that many opportunities to do those procedures.
Those specific
And so they needed, in order to keep those people moving forward, they kept the reappointments where it was, because they weren't worried about the fact that over that time they were here, they would see that many.
Yeah, I
But in the
remember surgery.
in the
Yeah.
2-year time period, there was concerns that they may not be able to have access to that many procedures. Because Chuck talked about that, I remember.
Yeah, I remember Chuck talking about the procedures for surgery, that we didn't do it. I didn't think that on ophthalmology, we were reducing, our volume had gone down on whatever.
That's the first
we
time
were
I've seen
doing.
on ophthalmology.
Yeah,
I agree.
that's on the ophthalmology one is, they usually have a big waiting list to get in. So I'm thinking maybe they are, and we haven't had any problems. They haven't reported they haven't been able to recruit. So it was just a question. Okay. All right. That was it. All right. So, David.
Ready?
Ready. Right. That's the end of my discussion. Okay.
So we need a motion to accept the delineation of privileges and a acceptance, except number, the pain medicine, which is number 8, and also the obstetrics and gynecology, until that can be clarified.
Correct. Yes. That's the motion.
Second.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
Before we do that, there's also urology. Is that page 71?
Yeah, maybe the simplest way is anything that's in blue,
Blue is excluded.
Included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe make that the motion.
Yeah, I didn't catch that one, okay?
Because it's in there a few.
It's in there
different
too, so
times, yeah.
my problem with it, I couldn't read it, so, okay. Okay, so I think we do need to do the same thing on urology, since we don't know if that's a,
So it'd be so then the revision of the motion would be to approve the delineation of privilege with the exception of urology and obstetrics and gynecology and the pain medicine. 6, 8, and 12.
Okay,
And we
all right.
will correct that and bring it back for the next board meeting if that's acceptable.
all right. I need that as a motion from somebody on the, okay. Now I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, all right. Are there any other discussions? All right, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by nay. Okay, all right. Okay, next we have the committee reports. And I know all of you received an email from Steve Simmons that he had been replaced, so I will give his report. But I do want to say publicly to thank Steve for his time on the board and really appreciate his work here. And as with Chuck, the others, we could send a little appreciation token for the time they served on the board. Okay? Huh? No, he have to get a cookie. He can get cookies, okay.
I'm curious, Councilman Firestone is going to serve on the council until the election in May. So we're going to leave this seat open. I don't know why Stephen shouldn't have been here until such time as we could officially bring Firestone on.
Well, we tried to clarify that, but I didn't get any. Steve called me and said he had tried to get clarification if it was immediate, and that was what he kind of thought it was. So, and
I would strongly suggest that you get a hold of Judge O'Hare and ask that question, because if, in fact, there's a lot of people running in his position, there could be a runoff, and it could be June or later before he actually gets on board.
The city attorney has reached out, so I know we are expecting that clarification.
that he could serve while he was serving as a...
They will clarify.
They will clarify. But I will... Again, Steve tried to get that clarification from Manny, who he thought he was supposed to go through. But I'll reach out and see if we can get a response to.
And I understand, but normally it's an immediately effective when you're going to immediately replace him. And we can't immediately replace him because Councilman Firestone can't serve on this board until after he's off of the city council, so.
Okay, I hear you, and I will attempt to get a clarification, and my clarification will come from Manny and the judge. So that, and Steve had tried to do that because he talked to me yesterday.
We just need to help Steve.
Well, we'll try. Yeah. I mean, I'll put in a call too, and maybe I'll get a response. Okay.
I think that he would be, the councilman would be able to be seated because I was a councilman and a board member at the same time.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, now, back to the agenda on the Quality Committee report. We did have a quality meeting for February, I believe. And there were 3 departments that was recognized for the Chuck E. Weber Golden Mitts Award, with Emergency Department for November, Surgical Specialty Clinic for December, and the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit for January. Staff gave reports on outpatient care management. We received a report from Behavior Health that focused on depression readmission and tools to have that they have implemented to create an integrated approach to managing depression of patients. Community health staff shared an insight on the improvement made to provide timely access and increase positive patient experience at the Access Resource Center. And patient experience reported out their organizational goals were updated from the patient experience survey and highlighted a new approach to address patients' concern and facility communication to improve overall patient experience. That was about, and they have 2 policies that's in the consent agenda for approval. Okay? That's it for, unless somebody have a question for me on quality. No, I'm looking at you. You're always starting trouble for me, Sam. Serena, I keep you close, okay? All right, joint finance and planning. Trent, I'm looking at Joey. Did you want to give a report and then DT?
I figured you would do 4.4% on $300 million ahead of planning, so I'm honored that you would put planning ahead of. I don't think we can match that, but we'll do the best we can.
No, it just means you're spending.
That's probably true. 23rd, we met, Madam Chair, most of you were here. There are 3 items that are on the consent agenda today that reflect the recommendation of the Planning Committee under item Roman numeral 10. Just by way of information, recall, the PEC has started, as you saw in the pictures earlier. It will be finished in May of 2025. So we're setting that mark right now that we will all be here in May of 2025 to celebrate that ribbon cutting. The Medical Home Southwest has also started. Despite the construction delays on the grading permit, that completion is July of 2024, and the temporary parking lot is moving forward. And thank you, Lonnie, for bringing me all this good information. That's it for planning, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, DT, Finance?
Would you like to do mine?
No. They didn't give me any cheat sheets for that.
Well, we met also on the 23rd as part of the Planning and Finance Committee meeting. And from that, we have our CFO report. We discussed that. And let me see, the item on there was the quarter Hilltop investment report for year-end December 31st, 2022 has been posted on the board portal for those who are interested in looking at it. And then on the bond thing, it's probably old news, but at the time when we met, the underwriter and the advisor advised us to pull off the market because the market condition was unstable. But subsequently, when the condition opened up, they were able to sell on February 28th. And I believe the old cost for the interest cost was about 4.4%, as Chairman Petty said earlier. And then we also discussed around the anticipation of the end of the public health emergency on May 11th also as well. And then from our financial report for January, JPS have a strong performance in January. The combined operating margin was 11.9, about $12 million, which is about $8.5 million ahead of budget. And our year-to-date operating margin was $36.5 million, and it's about $18.3 million greater than budget. That is through a lot of Dr. Duncan's initiative of focus on the core business of JPS. So it's not something that we take it lightly on that one. The inpatient surgery volume continued to be high and produce very strong patient revenue for the month. At the time that we did our budget, the HARP was not approved by CMS, but subsequently it was approved, and the finance department is accruing it on a monthly basis. Salaries and related expenses are over budget again, but was supported by strong volume at the hospital. The purchase service and other operating expense are under budget, but that was due to timing of that, and it will true up in the next few months as well. Under the contract approval, we have 8 contracts were presented and approved. Also approved for the sale of the unused land in Arlington also as well. So that concludes our report, ma'am.
All right. Any questions of DT? Okay. All right. Then next on our agenda is approval of the consent agenda. Are there any items we need to remove from the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I'm not pulling anything off the agenda, and maybe it's just a question for DT. I know Alcon is on here as a possible vendor. Do we favor Tarrant County vendors over non-Tarrant County vendors?
I understand. We'll have to refer that to General Counsel.
Correct, yeah, from scoring.
From a scoring perspective, we can.
Cannot, okay.
But we do take in account the accessibility of the board, which does tend to focus a little bit on Tarrant County.
So there's some efficiency there? Got it.
Correct.
Thank you.
I don't know that we've ever seen or discussed in any detail a scoring system for contracts. It might be worthwhile at one of the meetings to give us all an idea of what is scored, what isn't, and have us a chance to discuss it.
Sure. I think I've presented the just broad categories before, and sometimes it depends on scope, but definitely can bring that back.
Well, we've got a few new council members.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea.
Would that be the general meeting or finance or?
We did the contract presentation last time in finance, but, I'm open to however you'd like to see it.
We'll bring back finance.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I mean, I recognize my question is just the new guy question, so I'd love to, I'll sit and get the presentation for sure, yeah.
The only,
Is it something?
the only
we
challenge
maybe
with
we can
finance,
introduce to the public too?
Jim, is that not all of us are in finance.
Okay. All right. All right.
Thank you.
They will make sure that it's presented, and for when it's done, we'll send out the agenda to make sure that the ones that want it can be there. Okay? Okay, all right. Okay.
Do we have to approve the expense, the financial report?
That's part of the consent agenda?
It's
Yeah.
part of the consent.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
it is. Okay. All right. So you have the consent agenda. If no one want to pull anything from it, can I get a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
Move for approval.
All right. All those in favor of the approval of consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Did you get who made it? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So next we have a report from legal counsel.
Can I get the clicker?
You want the clicker? Okay. So it's not on my big screen? Wait a minute. Yeah, on my.
It's on your little end.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we get playing on these iPads. I look around and they're not even, okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So this is our quarterly dashboard. As you recall, I tend to bring some statistical information just so you can see the activity that goes on in the law department. And then we will have an update in closed session around litigation matters and anything else that would typically be discussed in closed. But this is always trailing because we give it after the quarter has closed. And so some of the information that you see here will be familiar to you. You've already seen it before. For the fourth quarter, our department reviewed and approved 4 contracts. And just as a reminder and for information for our new board members, we do have a contract with the district attorney's office that helps support some of the services that we provide, including some of our contract services. We have a gentleman that supports our medical malpractice litigation. And then when I get to collections, that is work that is supported through a paralegal from the DA's office as well. So 100 of those 174, 100 and can't even read this. 53 of those were under $500,000, and the others were over 500. Included in that are our exemptions to bid. We only had 8, and we had 22 competitive solicitations in that group. So what that probably tells us is that there are several contracts that don't reach that threshold for competitive solicitation. Our collections activity trends remain similar to what they've been. We do focus on collecting from those third parties that are responsible for certain of the payments that are outstanding. That's tends to be about 1/4 to 1/3 of the outstanding claims there. For litigation matters, we have 13 open cases that were remaining at the end of the quarter, 3 that were resolved, and 4 HR charges. And then in our just overview box of what's going on in the department, this is the stuff that actually did not necessarily happen in fourth quarter. This is kind of hot off the presses. We continue to try to fill some of our vacancies, and we've added 2 new contract administrators and have now hired our AGC that will support a claim. And Similarly, we report out on our Public Information Act activity. We had 43 PIA requests, and 7 of those we briefed with the Office of the Attorney General.
Daphne, I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On your litigation summary, if you can state in open session, what's the general nature of these claims, of these cases?
Yeah, so most of those will be medical malpractice cases unless we've specifically identified those as HR charges. We do have a couple that were more commercial litigation, but nothing that probably we'll need to delve into in closed session, but I will give you more detail.
Any other questions? Okay, was that it? Okay, is that it for open session?
No.
Next
slide.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Been to get my hands slapped, I'm sorry.
I have a little bit more.
Okay.
This actually, many of you have seen because I did a contract presentation in finance not too long ago, so that would have included some of our fourth quarter information, but we have been asked to consistently bring information regarding our diversity spend, and we now have a gentleman in our contract department who is focused on collecting that information and tracking it for us, and that's our vendor relationship manager. So this is what we had reported out for the fourth quarter, 33% collectively for our diversity spend. And we've then drilled down a little bit further. We know that we always like to see how well we're doing with respect to our bond projects. And so of the total spend, then we were 61% of that was diverse spending related to the bond work. And then we broke it down a little bit further just so you can see how that shakes out in terms of the overall spend that was eligible, how much was bond related and how much of it was non-bond related. So that is our bond versus non-bond diversity spend that you see on that last slide. And just to update those numbers a little bit, and again, you'll get to hear this in your first quarter report, but as of March 3rd through February, we were sitting at 49% diversity spend overall. Year-to-date, 34%. And the year-to-date bond only was 59%.
Those that were doing exception on our contractual awarding?
Yeah, because exception to bid has nothing to do with whether or not we're tracking diversity spend. Correct. That's all eligible spend. Madam Chair.
Yeah, no.
Unless anybody has any questions.
Okay, all right. Good. Well, now I'm playing with my tablet, okay?
And I do have a report in
Closed session, okay. Well, I think that is it for our open session. So now we need to.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Before we go into closed session, did everybody else get a copy of the letter that the Commissioners Court sent to the State House and state representatives on the board approval to ask, the Commissioners asked for $50 million for a hospital for Tarrant County for mental health? And nobody else saw that?
So I believe we have, Ashley, is that what we asked for so that we could draft the?
The letter has been drafted, been signed, and it's been sent to the state.
Well, no, I did not get a copy of it, so did any?
Love a check.
Yeah.
Well, we had a large discussion about it in our last meeting.
Yes, we
and
did.
We decided we needed to take some action, and evidently either they were listening to us or somebody did something.
I think that was already underway.
It's just a study, right? To start the study. I don't think it actually, Ashley can speak
Yeah.
Correct. So. Or not. There it is. So yes, the Commissioners Court and their advocacy efforts are focused on the state allocating $15.5 million for a study and planning grant to potentially pursue then a Tarrant County State Mental Health Hospital. So the ask for the legislature this year is to include that $15.5 million in their budget that would go to fund that study and planning grant. And I know, based on my conversations with my counterpart with Tarrant County, there is a Tarrant County delegation letter that's being circulated for all of the Tarrant County state senators and state representatives to sign on to, in addition to obviously what the court members are doing to advocate for that funding as well. And then we're certainly supportive of that as well.
Okay. Boy, I'm glad she finished that statement that way.
I thought she might go the other way.
I was sure she was.
Would never do that. Okay, is there anything else for open session?
Yeah, I have a question about the proposed psychiatric hospital. Would that be part of the Tarrant County Hospital District or a separate?
Separate.
It'd be separate.
It'd be separate from
Government.
the hospital district. This would be a state hospital. Yes.
I don't believe, I must have fallen asleep, but I don't think we voted on the consent agenda.
May have.
Yeah, you did once go to sleep.
Wake me up the next time.
You were one of the approvers.
You did second the motion.
He was the second.
Okay, all right. Do anyone else have anything for open session? All right, then we will close our open session at 5 minutes to 2, but we will reconvene in closed session at 10 after 2. Thank you. We will reconvene in open session at 2:35. I do not believe we have any other items to address, so I will entertain a motion for dismissal. Okay, got it. All right, so we are dismissed. Thank you.